TSM perform? That's the question on the minds of a lot of Vainglory fans, especially NA region Vainglory fans. Welcome to the queue, everyone. I am Belligerent, and this is another Vainglory World Championship Day 1 recap. Just to catch you up, I am going through each series. I am giving you a recap of what was going on. Originally intended to be live responses while the matches were going, but with so many technical difficulties they had last night, I had to go to bed and just didn't happen. So now I'm going through the VODs. I'm watching the matches. I'm picking out things. I'm giving you my thoughts, my observations, my analysis of what was going on. In case you don't have time to watch all the matches, maybe you don't care about all the matches, but you do want to hear the recap of some of your favorite matches. So let's get into this. TSM versus Hunters. So TSM has had a little bit of a rocky year this year. Oh, I should, maybe not the whole year, but you know, in the beginning of the year, they were dominant. Number one team in NA, go to London for the championship, and C9 wins. And then they go in, they were dominant. They win 4 weeks in a row in the summer season, go into the split just on cruise control. They go in as the number one team into the summer championships in LA, and they get beat by Immortals. C9 wins. Okay, so then in the final, in the fall season, they struggled. They struggle until we get to the split, and they go to Mobile Masters and they blow everybody up. And then by the end of the season, they have managed to surpass Rogue, who was kind of ahead of them the whole season. They slip into that number one spot for their Worlds. So we're all wondering which TSM is going to show up. The reigning number 2 team in the world, the dominant regular season team, or the team that has basically struggled at live events. And then Hunters, one of the probably one of the longest standing organizations, although it's a different roster at this point, but Hunters has been around the Vainglory scene for a while. How is this team gonna show up? So we get into it. Let's get into the draft here. TSM on A side, Hammers on B side. Vox Band comes out for TSM. Churnwalker Band comes out for Hunters, followed by Lyra pick for TSM. Arden pick for Hunters. Hunters then ban Baron. TSM bans Blackfeather. Hunters picks the Sky. And then TSM answers that with a Kroll and a Gwen pick. And then Hunters finishes off the draft with Batiste. Okay, Batiste kind of an interesting pick. Gwen has the skedaddle, so she can just kind of bypass a lot of what he has to do. But in my opinion, when I saw this draft, I'm thinking, all right, you're going to use Batiste to lock down the Kroll, or you could even lock down the Lyra when you're anticipating that portal bulwark engage, because that's what you're going to want to do with a Lyra onto a Sky, right? You're going to want to portal in bulwark so she can't escape. If you can anticipate that with the Batiste, you ordain the Lyra, which at the very least delays the portal bulwark engage so Sky can get some distance, maybe fix her positioning or whatever happens. Because if Lyra does portal out of that ordained, then she gets stunned and she can't immediately throw up the bulwark. So that's kind of what I was looking at going into this. Didn't know what to expect, have no familiarity with Hunters. It turns out we see right away, I think a lot of people with this comp were expecting Hunters to have a weapon power Sky, Crystal, Batiste. Not the case. They go double Crystal. We see that right away. Sky comes out with a weapon blade and a crystal bit. So, just getting the weapon blade for the early farm, but that's going to be a crystal Sky. So, you always have that question, double CP. A lot of people are nervous about that, or double weapon or whatever. I personally have never, I'm not worried about having the crystal weapon. Pick a comp that works. I've seen double weapon and double crystal work too many times to let that affect your drafting, although a lot of teams still do. It still doesn't still messes with them mentally. Okay, so my first thought as I'm watching this match and we're going was what's the first item that Harmonious, which is the laner for Hunters, what are we going to see on the Sky, right? Because, we had Crystal Bit, we had the Heavy Prism, so is it going to go into a Frostburn? Is it going to go into a Dragon's Eye? What's gonna be the play here? So it ends up going into a Dragon's Eye. By the time it's all said and done, the build is Dragon's Eye, Clockwork, Broken Myth, Eve, in that order. Okay. And so it's it was kind of a slow playing match. There not a lot of kills to begin. I think it was well into the match before first blood comes out. Flash X does his typical Crucible first on Lyra. In NA, we are completely used to seeing that now. But it does delay his fountain. Doesn't really turn out to hurt them much. Tia, I gotta say that the Hunter's jungler, I forget his name at the moment, but had great control on using his Batiste ultimate. There were a few situations where he's kind of like running for his life from Kroll. Arden jumps in to help him get out, but like you could totally see somebody popping around, shooting off that fear just to do that engage and save him. But he showed great restraint. He held it, managed to escape without using up the fear, using up that ultimate, and saving that, save that cooldown for his team. So props on that. I did notice that. First blood does end up going to Hunters after TSM takes the first turret. So TSM gets your first turret, but then Hunters turns it around. They get first blood. They actually get 2 kills in that team fight. However, they don't pick up anything from it, right? They don't get any objectives. They don't get a gold mine. They don't get farm from TSM. They really weren't in a position to capitalize on it, but they do pick up the first 2 kills. And I got to tell you, by this time, we're only 2 kills into the match, although it is probably 10-ish minutes into the match. This Harmonious is a god on Sky. So if Hunters makes it into the quarterfinals, the team's got to start thinking about banning the Sky, or at least not picking comps that Sky is going to, because you got to watch this VOD if you like Sky play. Harmonious is a god on the Sky. Unfortunately, there were some stream issues with this first game. The stream went down at a certain point in the game. I think it was about the 14-minute mark, but I could be wrong. And then when they finally returned and got the stream back up, it appears, right? Like I couldn't see this because it wasn't on the stream. It's not in the VOD, so but it appears that Hunters took Kraken and ended up taking all 3 turrets from TSM. So now at this point, TSM just has the crystal turrets left, and that they came back about the 17-minute mark on the stream. TSM does end up taking the next Kraken, which actually ends up pushing into Hunter's base and only leaves Hunters with 1 turret. But on that Kraken push, TSM gives up 2 kills back to Hunters. So it's pretty even at this point. 1 turret to 2 turrets left, and then Hunters goes in, great team fight, followed by where they get 2 kills, followed by the what is that? I don't even remember the song, but chasing Flash X around. Flash is just doing the dips and the dives and the ducks and the dodges and just being chased all over the place. They finally get the ace on Flash X, which gives them enough time, even though that the death timers on Vonsi and Best Chuck were down, I think, around the 17 to 20 second mark at this point because Flash made him run around for so long. Hunters goes and starts taking in the Kraken, and that's where the VOD ends. So I can't tell you what happens. I do know that Hunters wins the match, so I'm gonna speculate that they take that Kraken push and they turn it into winning the match. But I don't know because technical difficulties. All right. Anyway, so let's get into game 2 here for Hunters versus TSM. Okay, so we'll get into the draft right off. Hunters bans Churnwalker, TSM bans Lyra. Hunters picks Arden, TSM takes Blackfeather. Then TSM bans Sky. The respect ban. Don't want to see Harmonious on that Sky again. I don't blame them. Hunters bans Lance. It's very questionable. Oh, no, it's not questionable. I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm reading the draft wrong. Rewind that. I didn't say that. Bans Lance. Then TSM takes Grace, Hunters, Baron, and then drops the bomb by taking the Ozo. And then TSM finishes that up with taking Alpha. So, there's going to be some good You got TSM with kind of this triple melee comp. You got Hunters with Arden and Ozo that are just, can be tanky as hell with Baron dropping the bombs on them. But it's a very slow game, very back and forth game. First blood didn't come until 13 minutes in. TSM ends up getting ace on Hunters with Von C actually chasing the Hunters captain all the way past the third turret to get the kill. And then by that time, the Harmonious, the Hunters carry, respawns and kills Von C back behind their third turret. TSM does end up taking a turret off of that. I got to tell you, in the beginning of this match, and even before this first blood and this ace that I was just telling you about, Hunters felt really disjointed to me. Like there were team, I'll call them scuffles going on in the lane, and it looked like the Hunters team was diving in, right? Arden and Ozo would dive in, and Harmonious is just farming. Like not even, poking from a distance with the fight that's going on. It's like they were on two different wavelengths there, which I get as a Baron. You got to farm. You got to make sure you get that farm because Baron's build is just so damn expensive. But it felt really just disjointed. And right before TSM takes this first blood and this first ace at the 13-minute mark, just straight up from farm and taking gold mine, TSM and built a 3.5 to 4K gold lead over Hunters, so they were already getting ahead, even though it was kind of a slow process. At the 15-minute mark, as soon as Kraken pops, TSM starts taking the Kraken, but it's simply just a bait. They bait Hunters in. They get 2 kills off of it. Then they turn around. They go finish up the Kraken. And then they use that Kraken to push all the way to the Crystal. However, Hunters manages to jump out and finish off the Kraken and get the cleanup kills on TSM. So an exposed Crystal for Hunters. But this Baron is starting to come online. You're starting to feel like, maybe something's going to happen. Maybe Hunters has a chance to turn this around if they can just take one team fight. Right, next team fight pops off. We're going. Is this Hunter's chance? No, because Best Chuck on this Baron, not on this Baron, on this Black Feather is just a beast. Way too much. Just annihilates Harmonious on this Baron as he had been doing all game. This Black Feather just proves to be way too strong. They get the ace on the next team fight. They push in. Obviously, they clean up the Bear Vein Crystal. And the Hunters TSM match finishes 1-1. So each team gets a point off of that and leaves us, honestly, with some questions. And we had these questions about TSM coming in. What TSM were we going to see? Were we going to see the dominant TSM? Were we going to see the inconsistent TSM? I just, I feel like TSM just has kind of lost something over the last season or so, like, because they were so dominant, but in live events they're not performing this season. And then Mobile Masters kind of gives you that hope that they're gonna pull it all back together, and they're just not. And Hunters, I gotta be honest with you, I completely discredited Hunters when I was making my predictions. Didn't even give them a thought. I'm like, ace TSM, no question. Hunters is for real, y'all. Now, this is the only match, I believe, that happened from Group D. Ace Gaming hasn't played anybody yet. So they have to finish those, because they weren't going to get to these matches until, midnight because of all the technical issues. So they're actually going to be finishing those up, quote-unquote, this morning, Singapore time. Not exactly sure when. They said they're going to try and stream them. Don't know if they are going to get streamed. I think this group is wide open. Right, they're calling it the group of death. I think it absolutely is the group of death. I really don't know. I don't know which way I could. If TSM doesn't come out of this group, I wouldn't be surprised. Frankly, if Ace doesn't come out of this group, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, the way that Hunters showed now, their first game was a hell of a lot stronger than their second game. So clearly they have some comfort picks. I personally think that Hunters needs to stay away from Baron. I wasn't very impressed by Harmonious on his Baron, but his Sky was to die for, right? Ride or die Sky. That was phenomenal Sky play. So I mean, like if Hunters comes out of this group and either TSM or Ace doesn't, I'm not going to be surprised. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. This is the Q Vainglory World Championships Day 1 recap. This was TSM versus Hunters from Group D. I'm Belligerent. Peace, y'all.